What if I told you that some of the worst horrors in human history didn't happen on a battlefield, didn't involve soldiers fighting soldiers, and weren't committed by monsters, demons, or ghosts, but by doctors in white coats? What if the most terrifying place of World War II was not Auschwitz, not Hiroshima, not the front lines, but a hidden laboratory where men, women, and children were cut open alive, called logs, and used like disposable tools in the name of science? Tonight we will explore a story of a man who witnessed all of those. This is not a conspiracy, this is documented history. I don't remember the exact moment my name stopped mattering, but I remember the feeling of it slipping away, like something being quietly taken from me while I was too afraid to fight back. By the time I understood what was happening, I was no longer a man with a past, a family, or a life beyond this moment. I was log 614, a number written in ink by a stranger who never once looked me in the eyes. So before I go any further, before this place finishes what it started, I need to ask you something, because this question is the only thing that still feels human inside me. How does a person decide that another person is no longer human? This is Unit 731, and if you're hearing this, then at least one of us survived long enough to remember. They never told us where we were being taken, and maybe that was intentional because not knowing made the fear spread slower, like poison that hasn't reached the heart yet. We were pushed into the back of trucks so tightly that there was no room to sit and no room to fall, only room to breathe shallowly and hope the road ended soon, even though none of us knew what soon was supposed to mean anymore. When the doors finally opened, the cold air hit us first, followed by the sight of fences that stretched farther than I could see, watchtowers standing above them like silent witnesses, and soldiers who held their rifles as if we were already dead and simply hadn't realized it yet. There was a sign near the entrance that spoke about water purification and disease prevention, and I remember feeling confused for just a moment because nothing that looks this clean should feel this threatening. That was the first lie this place told me. Inside the building, everything was white and bright, so clean that it almost felt comforting at first, and that realization frightened me more than the guards ever could. They lined us up in a long corridor, our footsteps echoing softly against the floor, and one by one, men in white coats walked past us slowly, calmly, like they were inspecting equipment instead of human beings. When one of them stopped in front of me, I opened my mouth to say my name, but he never gave me the chance because he wasn't interested in who I was, only in what I could become. He wrote a number on a clipboard, nodded once, and moved on. And in that moment, something inside me broke quietly, because I understood that as long as I stayed alive in this place, I would never truly live again. There are many rooms inside Unit 731, and after a while, you learn to recognize them not by their doors or their signs, but by the way they make your body react before you even step inside. Some rooms smell like chemicals so strong they burn your lungs. Others smell like iron and something darker that I don't have a word for, and a few smell disturbingly clean, as if nothing bad has ever happened there at all. The worst rooms are the quiet ones, because in those rooms you can hear everything. Footsteps moving slowly behind you, metal instruments being placed carefully on trays, pencils scratching against paper as someone prepares to take notes. And then eventually you hear screaming. The screaming always stops. The first time they strapped me to the table, I told myself that as long as they knocked me unconscious, I could survive whatever came next, because pain is something the body can endure if the mind is allowed to escape. But they never knocked me out. They pulled the leather straps tight across my chest and arms, checked their instruments, and spoke to each other in calm, measured voices, as if what they were about to do required precision, not mercy. When the blade touched my skin, I didn't feel pain right away, and for a brief, terrifying moment, I hoped that meant I was dying quickly. I was wrong. The pain came all at once, sharp and overwhelming, ripping through me so violently that my scream didn't even sound like it belonged to a human anymore. And still, they kept working, discussing my organs as if they were objects laid out for inspection. I realized then that they weren't trying to kill me. They were trying to learn from me. A few days later, they injected something into my arm without explanation. And the way they watched me afterward made it clear that whatever they had given me was far more important to them than my survival. By nightfall, my body felt wrong in a way that's difficult to describe, like every part of me was heavy and burning at the same time. And when I tried to sleep, my thoughts slipped in and out of darkness without warning. The man in the cell beside mine started coughing sometime during the night, and by morning the sound had turned wet and desperate, like his lungs were drowning inside his chest. When the guards came for him, he didn't resist because I think he already knew there was nothing left to resist with. They took his body away quietly, and later that day I saw the doctors smiling. There was a child kept somewhere near my cell, and even though I never saw her face, I knew she was there because of the way her crying echoed through the walls at night, small and frightened and completely out of place in a building like this. Sometimes her crying would stop suddenly, and in those moments the silence felt heavier than any sound I had heard before, pressing against my chest until it was hard to breathe. One night the crying didn't return. No one explained why. No one needed to. They brought me to another room where there was a large metal container filled with ice and water, and before I could ask what they were going to do, they forced my arm into it and held it there while I begged them to stop. At first it felt like needles piercing my skin, but soon the sensation disappeared entirely, replaced by a deep, terrifying numbness that spread farther than my arm ever should have allowed. One of the doctors tapped my frozen limb with a stick, listened to the sound it made, and nodded with satisfaction, as if he had just confirmed something important. I think that was the moment I truly understood that my pain was nothing more than data to them. Lately, something has changed in the air, and even without being told, I can feel that the people who run this place are afraid of something beyond these walls. They move faster now, speak in shorter sentences, and burn papers late into the night, as if they are trying to erase not just evidence, but memory itself. I heard the word surrender whispered once, and for a brief moment, hope tried to return, but it didn't stay long, because hope doesn't survive in places like this. Tonight, the gunshots are closer, and I don't think they plan to let us leave alive. So if this is the last thing I ever say, I need it to be clear, because history has a way of forgetting people like us. We were not logs. We were not numbers. We were not experiments. We were human beings, and the people who did this to us believed they were being reasonable, scientific, and necessary. If that's true, then tell me, what is more terrifying than a human who no longer feels anything at all?